Good morning, everyone who has joined us so far. Just a quick reminder that this is being recorded, and so feel free to remain off camera and muted, please, while we go through the presentation. Thank you for joining us. We'll give people a couple more minutes to get into the room, and then we'll get started.
Good morning, everyone. So happy to see so many people kind of entering the room right now. I think Angel Sauls, the program manager, is going to kick us off. I think she's stepped away for a brief moment, but in a second. And yeah, we'll get started in just a second. Thanks for everybody for joining.
Okay, thanks again. If you missed my earlier announcement, this is being recorded, so feel free to stay off camera and please stay on mute while we're presenting. There will be a time for questions afterwards. And I'm gonna take a few seconds to figure out how to add a co-host, and then we'll get started. Okay, let me come on camera here. So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for your interest in the Residential Energy Equity Program. I am very pleased to announce that we have released our Fiscal Year 26 Funding Opportunity Announcement, or FOA, as we like to call it. And I am Angel Sauls, the Program Manager for Residential Energy Equity. This program has gone through a couple iterations of names. So it was the LMI program, then we switched it to Energy Efficiency Equity. Now we've added an additional technology in the way of renewables or solar. And so now we're just Residential Energy Equity because we want to leave room for growth to add even more technologies for these homes. And we don't want to have to change the name every single time. So we're Residential Energy Equity. Another change for this year, as opposed to previous years, is that we are no longer servicing commercial buildings. We do service multifamily, which sometimes in the real estate world can be considered commercial. But for the purposes of the energy efficiency program, we are servicing residential single family, meaning detached townhomes and condos, and then also multifamily residences. And there are a couple of differences in how we service them between the two different areas of interest, which are energy efficiency and solar. I am going to introduce our team, and then we'll kick off the funding opportunity announcement, things that we want to point out. Sean will do that, and then we will invite our technical contractor, who is Newport Partners, and they will go through the actual application attachment with you so that you know how to effectively fill that out. And that's important because this is a competitive program. If your whole team is not on the call, the people that are actually filling out the application, that's totally fine. This will be recorded and you will have access to it on the YouTube page, and we'll send out an email to everyone after the call. So again, I'm Angel Sauls, and then I have two energy specialists that are helping execute the program. And one of them is Sean Stewart. I like to think of Sean Stewart as the Robin to my Batman. I'm going to announce you a couple different ways every time. But Sean, you are an incredible asset to the program. I know all of our current grantees feel the same way, and our new awardees will feel that as well once the program gets started next year. And I would love for you to go ahead and start off with the funding opportunity announcement. You should be able to share your screen, hopefully, at this point. And then I will be off camera and muted while you take it away. And then I'll come back in at the end just to talk about the submission requirements. So when you get there, feel free to pass it back off. And then we also have another energy specialist joining the team, and that is because we have over $25 million to deploy over two different technologies, and Gus Norbum is an energy specialist on the team as well now. So you'll see his name come across emails as well as the program gets started. All right, so Sean, thank you so much, and go for it.
I am muted. There we go. Off to a good start. Thanks everybody for joining the call. Yeah, we're just going to kind of go through this funding opportunity announcement, just trying to pull out some of the more salient details on what we are looking for, what's important, kind of pitfalls and things to just know about the program moving forward. So we'll kind of get into it. I'm not going to obviously just read every single word. I'm going to try to pull out more of the salient points. We know everybody's time sensitive, so let's just get into it. So welcome. This is the FY26 Residential Energy Equity Program, formerly the Energy Efficiency Equity Program, and then the Solar Energy Equity Program. So if you were familiar with Solar Energy Equity, that's kind of where its home is now under this program. AOI 1 will be for energy efficiency, and AOI 2 is going to be for solar energy. I think another important thing to note about this program is that in terms of applicants, it is local governments and then registered nonprofits in the state of Maryland. I think we had a lot of people reaching out. We're so happy there's so many people interested in energy efficiency technology and solar technology. But if you are a resident, you will need to contact one of the grantees to facilitate some of these funds and benefits and go about it through that avenue. Moving forward, oh, that was the other thing I wanted to say. If you are interested in solar, we do have another solar program specifically for residents. That's MSAP. I'll try to put a link to the MSAP program in the chat by the end of the call. So let's keep rolling. So program beneficiaries, this is for individuals experiencing low to moderate income as defined by the SEEF statute. There's going to be a little bit more information down in the rest of the FOA, but just want to call that out. Equity is in the name for a reason. technically this is not open to every single person in the state of Maryland. The program grant period goes to September 1st, 2028, with monthly reporting wrapping up October 1st, 2028. There are two program types, two areas of interest that I kind of referenced previously. AOI1, this is competitive regionally, and we'll explain the regions in a second, but AOI2 is competitive statewide. The budget for this program is for AOI1, 17 million, and then for AOI2, it is 8 million for solar. You may apply for one or both areas of interest. On top of that, there will be one application for both areas of interest. So when you see the application online, and you'll see this, it's pretty clear. You don't have to look for another application for the other area of interest. We're trying to make it simpler and easier for our grantees, so it's all in one easy place. In terms of funding guidelines, the thing that we really want to call out here is we actually for have carved about 25% or about 4.3 million for first-time grantees. So if you're new to the program, we understand that we have a lot of great applicants that we love that are returning applicants. We'd love to see you come back. Please apply. But we know for those first-time applicants, you may not know the ins and outs of the program, even some of the terminology, some of the ways that even the technology works, and it can be a little bit confusing. And so we're trying to expand our pool of grantees and the relationships that we have across the state. So that's why we designed this, just a little bit of a kind of easier pool for those first-time applicants. And then, we're going to hope to see you come back, and then you'll be a returning grantee and kind of compete in a kind of bigger pool of money. There are 40 awards available for AOI1. This is the regions right here. So there are 5 regions: Baltimore City, Central, Southern, Eastern, and Western, with all slightly different kind of pools of money. We understand that there is actually so much need in Baltimore City, and we have a lot of great grantees in Baltimore City, but we are the state energy office, and we want to make sure those parts of Eastern Shore, parts of Western Maryland are being reached. And so that's why we designed AOI1 that way. AOI2 will have up to 20 awards that are available. And yeah, I think that was all I wanted to say there. So moving along, these are the program income limits. This is kind of how we're defining LMI. This is based off 80% of state median income. So you can see this chart here that we have for you. You can get a kind of idea and scope of kind of the household income we're looking for residents to be under this program. Cost effective is a term that we're going to define as project cost divided by total annual energy savings equaling simple payback years. This is for what we're trying to do. Those simple payback years for AOI1 is 18 years or less. For AOI2, it's 20 years or less. Very similar, so kind of around the same place, but not exactly the same. Eligible buildings, this is also one that we want to kind of highlight. This program has changed slightly. So the first is that commercial buildings are no longer eligible. They've kind of been eligible in years past under the previous energy efficiency equity program, but as the programs change every single year, commercial buildings no longer apply. And I think Angel said that at the top of the call. The other really important thing to call out here is that for AOI1, residents may be renters. For AOI2, they must be primary, it must be the primary residence. So they must be the homeowner for solar, the solar portion of the program. Moving along to eligible activities, this can get really confusing or can get really technical, and I think a lot of people have a lot of great questions. There's no really important things or points I really feel like I need to pull out from this section. I encourage you to go back and read this and the appendix on itself. For AOI2, we're going to keep going. Again, there's really not too much I want to pull out here except the 2 categories under AOI2. So the first category is direct ownership. So when you install solar on the homes of some of these homeowners, the first category where most of you are going to apply is going to be direct ownership, which means that when you install or put on a solar installation on a home, it will be owned by the homeowner. This is, again, probably going to be most of you as grantees are going to pursue this option. However, we do have a second category, and this is where it is a zero-cost power purchase agreement. If you don't know what that is, it can be a little bit confusing and the details can get a little bit sticky, but I'll try to simplify it as much as I can in this call. You will actually own the solar system, you will generate renewable energy credits, and you will be responsible for design, installation, commissioning, but also just owning it outright on the home. for the homeowner. So that can be confusing. If you have questions about that, we understand, but we do want to highlight these two categories because they are different and will, I think, greatly change how you approach the solar part of AOI2. Just moving along here, eligible energy projects. They're under this section, we wanted to just call out how much money can be spent on a per home basis. So the first is going to be area of interest 1, which is going to have about 21,000 per residence, with about 8,500 specifically for weatherization measure or upgrades for enabling, or excuse me, $5,000. The 8,500, I saw that threw me off. I'm sorry. 5,000 for enabling repairs. The second area of interest is 30,000 with 7,500 for enabling repairs. So that was actually, again, for solar energy equity previously, that was 5,000. We've upped it up to 7,500. We know for anyone that's working in the solar space, a lot of times those enabling repairs are roofs. And so we understand that we're trying to be a little bit more generous with those funds. We know inflation and everything is just, the price of everything's gone up. So we're trying to be sensitive to that. And so we've upped those enabling repairs funds by 2,500 from the previous program. Finally, moving forward, it's the grant and indirect cost. 50%, 15% of the total grant amount can be used for indirect costs. Moving down, I think you're going to keep moving. Again, a lot of this is all good. I encourage you to read the FOA. I just kind of want to get down to, Angel, I'm about to go over the evaluation criteria. Is this where you wanted to hop back in, or do you want me to go over all the parts of the criteria?
You can handle that. I'll come back in when it talks about how to submit the application.
Okay, sounds good. There's really 5 things we are going to look for. This is how you're going to be graded when you submit an application. This is where we want to see you kind of shine, is what we're going to look for. So the first is project feasibility and scope. This can be a pretty simple project narrative, what you're going to do, how you're going to accomplish the work. It's really just kind of defining what you want to do and making sure, in a kind of slightly silly way, that you understand the program. You'd be surprised. I feel like there's a lot of really great grantees out there, but sometimes applicants don't read the FOA all the way. They might think that something is included in the program that's not. For instance, batteries. Right now, at least for this program, that's not available. So just making sure that you read the FOA, understanding everything that's in there, and that we can see that you can accomplish the work that you set out to do. Next, cost effectiveness. So this is going to be, like we talked about earlier, project cost divided by total annual energy savings, generating those project or payback years. Number 3 is past performance. So if you are a returning grantee, this is really can be a real time for you to shine. If you are, again, continually submitting your reports on time, we don't have to chase you down, figure out what's going on, that you're pretty responsive over email. This really actually helps. This is a pretty big program. It can be pretty unwieldy at times. And so you being responsive, quick to let us know about things really helps us. We're all busy, emails pile up, but the quicker you can respond and making sure that we have everything, if there is a hiccup in any type of invoice, that can really go a long way. And so that will go into part of our criteria when we look at, what we want to fund year in, year out. 4th is annual greenhouse gas reductions per dollar of MEA investment. That can sound like a mouthful, but this is really just the idea that this is how we're measuring our program from our CEF, from our statute. We're trying to make sure that we're lowering greenhouse gas reductions, trying to save on emissions. So this gets a little bit technical, but electricity savings in kilowatt per hour, propane savings, heat oil savings, natural gas savings. Finally, the selection of contractors. So this really specific for area of 2 so much because there's roofing and mold remediation. Just the fact that you have these relationships already set up, ready to go, so that way when we do give you the grant, you're not spending the first couple of months trying to track those relationships down. You've already built them, they're ready to go. And I should note out, you already will have applicants, if you receive award, will be required to demonstrate the proof of that engagement within 30 days of the award notification. So I really want to hone in on that. You will need to let us know within 30 days anyways. But look, if you already got them set up and ready to go, that just shows us that you're an even better applicant, and we potentially will want to fund you even more. You will have a required document checklist. I'm not really going to go through this, but there are just some things we want to make sure that you have. Please take a look at this. You can send it all in one big package when you apply. But every year, I know there's a lot of great grantees, and they're always missing a document or two, some of them, and we don't want that to happen to you. So please make sure to double and triple check you have all these documents. We do have partial and scaling partial awards, so we want to make that clear. So if you do apply for a big amount, we might give you a partial award. We do have that option. So just keep that in mind. And then I think, Angel, that was about it. I think we're getting into additional requirements, and I think we're actually at submission. So I'm going to hand it back to you. Thank you.
Great. Will you continue to share for me, though, please?
Sure.
Great. So thank you for going through all of those pages for everyone, Sean. It is a lengthy document. We get that. Right now, there isn't a way to reduce the amount of pages. So I would absolutely encourage everyone to read through this 2 and 3 times just to make sure, particularly if you are a first-time applicant, that you really get what we're trying to communicate through this document. This becomes a part of a grant agreement if you do win an award. So knowing this kind of like the back of your hand is going to be really helpful. 2 things I did want to highlight about the criteria. One, you notice that Sean mentioned the simple payback. What we are asking for in the application part of this, which our partner, Newport Partners, will go through shortly, is that we're looking for a sample job, right? So give us your, most common job that you think you'll encounter, most common type of home, and give us the snapshot of what that looks like through one job. And that's how we know that you understand what measures will create the most ideal scenario for reaching the simple payback. Now, into how to submit. So again, you're going to, number 1, everything is going to be due by December the 18th by 3 p.m. That is a Thursday, I believe. And the reason for that is I want to our team to be able to acknowledge every single application by the next day, which will be Friday. So you should get a response from us. We've received your application. It will be simply an email reply to your submission. And scroll down a little bit for me, Sean. Great. So the guidance for submission, this is going to be really important that you follow these instructions. We have a lot of submissions each year. This makes sure that we don't overlook or mistake your submission for something else. So even down to what you put in the subject line is included in this guidance for submission. If you are a returning grantee, you'll notice that we now have a new email address where everything is being submitted. We would like to make sure you do not change the file type. It makes the document get jumbled up and formats change and all of that. So please make sure you're downloading the Excel and you're submitting the Excel. If you have, you will have supporting documentation, and that should be in the form of a PDF or Word doc. And if your files are really large, you can, of course, submit more than one email as a part of your total package, but you'll need to define, that this is part 1, part 2, part 3, etc. of that submission. What is really important is that you omit, black out, like cross through, put X's, something over any personal identifying information. This means names of homeowners, for instance. If you're submitting a sample audit, the address is important, but you need to black out the name of the owner of that person whose information you're submitting. And then, of course, the things that are sensitive, like social security numbers and contact info. You're going to see several places where we're asking in the application who's doing what. And we'll let Newport go over that. So just make sure all that is filled out properly. And then again, we will reply acknowledging receipt of that information of your application within 1 day, which is why everything's due on Thursday. If your files are super large and you want to submit it through a zip file, that's fine. We can unzip files. Just make sure the file itself, of course, is the right format, meaning you zipped Excel and Word docs and PDFs. If you'll scroll down a little bit for me, Sean. I just want to acknowledge that keep going. There is an appendix. So the bulk of the information that you're going to need, of course, is in those preceding pages, but this appendix is really important that you don't skip this. You need to read very thoroughly through these additional requirements, basically, that it just didn't make sense to stuff that in the first few pages of this document. But you need to come down here and make sure you don't skip the appendix. There's a section for area of interest 1, which is, again, energy efficiency, and then further down for AOI 2, which is solar. Okay. Now, we have a pretty large program, as you can imagine. So we release a new application for funding every single year. And then, as you saw earlier, you get 2 years to spend those funds, which means we have a lot of overlapping fiscal years and different grantees for each of those. So it's a pretty large program with a pretty big grantee base. And then obviously we're working with double-digit $1 million. So we have a technical contractor that is vital to the success of this program. They are Newport partners. They create a lot of our tracking mechanisms and spreadsheets, and they're wizards when it comes to creating these documents. And so we're going to hand it over to them, and specifically Evan, to go walk you through the actual Excel document that you will be filling out. So Evan, you should have ability to share now, and Sean, you can stop sharing.
Right. Hi, everybody, and thank you for your interest in the 2026 Residential Energy Equity Program. As Angel mentioned, my name is Evan Resnick. I'm here on behalf of MEA's technical assistance contractor, Newport Partners. I created this application Excel based on MEA specifications, and I'll be walking you through it today. Can I just get a quick confirmation from Angel that this application spreadsheet is visible for everybody? Excellent. Thank you for the thumbs up. All right. So first thing I'm going to want to go over here is very general information about the application. First off, please fill out this application with some version of Microsoft Excel. I know that there are alternative software options for handling spreadsheets. However, I made this in Excel. I've only tested it in Excel, and if it is filled out using any other program, I cannot guarantee that it will work as intended. If you do not have a license for Microsoft Excel, you should be able to access a web-based version of Excel, which is what I'm using it on, via Microsoft 365 with just a free Microsoft account. All right, and so with that out of the way, I'm going to look at the application itself. Please note that the file that I am working with right now says application rev 1. We have had an applicant, a very proactive applicant, reach out to us already and inform us of a bug in the original application, which we have gone ahead and fixed. So if you have already downloaded the application from MEA's website, you may not have Rev 1, and so please go ahead and verify that the copy of the application that you have is Revision 1. And if not, go ahead and download a new copy from the website. Right. So the structure of this application is into 7 tabs. You're going to want to start in the Grantee Info tab here. And at the top of each tab, you'll see just this little information about the way that user input cells, or not just user input cells, but how some of the cells in this spreadsheet are color-coded. Any cells with light gray shading contain formulas. Please do not mess with any formulas. If there are any problems with any formulas and they are not working as expected, please reach out to us and let us know. And we will advise you on how to handle that and perhaps release revision 2. Any cells with light gold shading contain a drop-down menu. If you have any issues with drop-down menu options, please reach out to us. Unshaded or white cells are for typed responses. Some cells will be asking for numerical answers, like dollar amounts. In those cases, please only enter the number. Others will be asking for perhaps a longer response. Go ahead and enter whatever you want in those. All right, and this formatting, this color coding guide is at the top of every tab in case you need to refer back to it. For area of interest 1, the energy efficiency portion of the program, as Sean mentioned while going through the FOA, AOI 1 is regionally competitive. Therefore, there is a different tab for AOI 1 for each region. You can ignore any unused tabs. So for example, if you are applying for AOI 1 funding in Baltimore City and the Central region, you can fill out these 2 tabs and ignore the other 3 tabs for AOI 1 for the Eastern, Southern, and Western regions. Important note, please do not delete any tabs. That will mess with formulas, specifically in the Grantee Info tab that collects some info from the rest of these tabs. Do not delete any tabs. Just ignore any tabs that don't apply to you. So you're going to complete one of these tabs for each region in which you want AOI 1 funding. For AOI 2, also as Sean mentioned while going through the FOA, AOI 2 is statewide competitive. There is no regional division for AOI 2. Therefore, there is only one AOI 2 tab, which contains, as opposed to the AOI 1 tab, you should see all the counties listed here. And so if you are looking for the other 4 AOI 2 tabs, there aren't any, it's just the one. All right, so now I'm going to go back to this Grantee Info tab where you will start, and I will draw attention to some specific inputs that we anticipate some confusion may be possible. All right, so early on in this Grantee Info tab, there's a section about past performance. Please note that past performance in this program refers to both the Energy Efficiency Equity Program and the Solar Energy Equity Program that has been wrapped up into the new Residential Energy Equity Program. Sorry, there's so many different things that E can stand for. It gets a little confusing. But Past performance here refers to participation in either of those two programs in the past, including the Energy Efficiency Equity Program's earlier name, the Low to Moderate Income Energy Efficiency Grant. So if you have participated in either of those programs under any previous names, you're going to check yes here. Otherwise, that's a no. Scrolling down here. So it's not happening in this way that I've opened it here, but depending on how you open this spreadsheet through web Excel or desktop Excel, or perhaps depending on what year of Excel you use, some text may end up being cut off. If that is the case, you can try zooming out and in until it works normally. And if that still doesn't work, you should be able to click on this cell and click on this drop down arrow here on the right of the formula bar, and you can size that to view as much text as you need. So those will be your options for if you see any text cut off in any cells, zoom in and out until it works, or, excuse me, check out the formula bar. All right. If we scroll down here, these funding request cells, as you can see, they are shaded light gray. They are formulas. Ideally, you should not be able to accidentally change any of these formulas. But we have had issues in the past where people have accidentally changed formulas despite worksheet protection. So please try not to do that. And this is one of the things that will break if any tabs are deleted. So do not delete any tabs. So the rest of this grantee info tab should be self-explanatory. And so I'm going to move on to the AOI1 tabs. I'm only going to look at for the most part, only going to look at this first AOI1 tab for Baltimore City. But every other AOI1 tab is essentially identical to this one. The only substantial difference between among the 5 AOI1 tabs is the county list in Baltimore City. You just got Baltimore City. But the rest of these AOI1 tabs each have their own county list, but the rest of the tab is the same. All right. And so you'll have a lot of free response boxes in the AOI1 tabs. Some of them are very long. If you scroll down to this first major entry for a detailed summary of your project, you may be deceived into thinking that this is the end of the tab since you don't see anything more down here. The scroll bar to the right can inform you that that is not the case. There is more to see if you scroll down further. If you do need more space than this for your response to this question, you can expand the size of these rows, which will expand the size of the overall box. You will not be able to add more rows. So just go ahead and expand the rows that you have available to you. And again, please pay attention to color coding. For white, you type. For gold, drop down. And for light gray, that's formulas. Don't touch them. They should populate things on their own. All right, and that should do it for the AOI1 tabs. Of course, if anything else comes up, please feel free to reach out to us as you're filling out the application. Now in AOI 2, again, there is only one AOI 2 tab because it is not regionally competitive, but rather statewide competitive. So this one tab is for AOI 2 in the entire state. Right? So one thing that the solar AOI 2 part of the application has that AOI 1 does not is this weatherization requirement. For your application, at least one of these upper 6 drop-down checkboxes must be answered yes. Different ones of these options may apply to different homes, and so you may find yourself answering more than one of these as yes, and that is absolutely fine as well. But it is important that each home that is going to have solar installed must answer yes for at least one of these options. And we're going to move down to this teaming companies section. So if you receive funding for AOI 2 for solar installations, you will have to team up with at least one solar installer contractor, and you are not required to list that solar contractor here. However, it is encouraged and will give you extra points on your application in competitiveness by demonstrating feasibility. So, and just to make that extra clear, you are not required to list any teaming companies on this application, but they are encouraged and count towards your application for competitiveness. You are required to list any teaming companies that you plan to work with. You are required to identify them and report them to MEA within 30 days of receiving an award notification. So if you receive an award, then within 30 days, you will be required to identify any teaming companies, solar, roofing, or mold remediation that you plan to work with throughout the course of your grant. At least one solar installer will be required at that point. Roofing and mold remediation contractors are encouraged, but not required. And again, not required to be filled out in the application, but strongly encouraged and incentivized with competitive points. So that should do it for this walkthrough of the application. And I will go ahead and pass it back to Angel.
Thank you, Evan. I appreciate that. I hope that was clear, and very shortly we'll go into a question and answer period. I would like to say there's a lot going on in the chat, so just check there to make sure your questions haven't already been asked and answered. I would like to make clear, if it wasn't already, for first-time applicants that for Area of Interest 1 for energy efficiency, you can apply for one or all of the regions that you can actually feasibly do work in those regions, meaning you have connections to contractors and you have a list of residents that you can easily access, just to make sure you can actually do work there if you're awarded there. So you can apply for one or all. You can also apply for all and AOI 2 for solar. The only thing to keep in mind is that for solar, you can only do category 1 or too. So that might have been said through the funding opportunity announcement read through, but I just want to be clear. Either or both for the different AOIs, but within AOI 2, you can only either do the direct ownership or the power purchase agreement in your request for funding. I would like to open the floor for questions. Please do raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. And then after you ask your question, put your hand down so we can know who is next. Any questions, or Sean or Gus or Evan, did I leave anything out that we should go over while we wait for hands to be raised? A little thumbs up or anything?
I can't think of anything that you've missed.
Awesome. Okay. Oh, I see Patty. So let me open here. Patty, feel free to unmute yourself. Hopefully you have that capability.
I do. Thanks, Angel.
Okay.
I have one question about, we have a grant program for assisting moderately sized multifamily buildings within the city. How would we show that the entire building fits your eligibility requirements for income limits?
Yeah. So if you are intending to service an individual unit, each unit must be income qualified. Now, how you qualify your incomes, it is up to you to have a mechanism by which you qualify an owner through the application process. We don't mandate what that is. What I will say is when it comes time to execute a grant agreement, we do ask for a sample of your application from the resident. So, but it's up to you what documentation you collect and how you create your own application for the resident themselves. If you are so each unit, if you're working in the unit, if you're servicing the entire building, maybe the entire building attic needs insulation and is not per unit, then you can show that it is in an income qualifying district. Like you can look up, I think it's Maryland Environmental Service has a website where you can say this is in an area that is income qualifying, or the entire building can be designated as an affordable housing unit, and you can also use that as a qualifier.
Great, thank you. That's really helpful.
My pleasure. While we wait on more hands, one thing I will talk through is the timing on things. So applications are due again on the 18th. We will acknowledge them within 24 hours. Once we have everything, there's a pretty lengthy process for evaluating them all. And so we are projecting that decisions wouldn't be made until maybe February. You would get a notification because after everyone is selected, we have to see how much everyone is getting. And so we expect that you would be notified of an award, not until March or April, and then a grant agreement would be executed within a couple months of that. So by May, it is our goal that everyone has a grant agreement to at least review. They would be fully executed by June for work to begin in July. That is our most ideal situation for executing these funds. Kellyanne?
Yes, hello there. Thank you for the excellent presentation. I'm becoming familiar with the FOA process, and I have a question regarding the regions and how the boundaries are defined. Are the regions identified in the award grant, and would specific zip codes be listed? Talk to me a little bit about that.
So on the funding opportunity announcement, you'll see that map that specifically defines what is a region, like the counties that count for the Western region, et cetera, with the exception, of course, Baltimore City is its own region. How those boundaries were defined was done well before I got here. So they do not correspond, I will caution you, with other agencies and how they define regions. So it is program specific, which counties count in each region. The way we determine how much funding gets allocated to a specific region is based on income qualifying households. So if a region has a high density of income qualifying households, that region may get a significant amount of funding. And then again, to add to that, in terms of what you all are applying for, apply for what you know you can spend. And then we will work out on our end through the competitiveness of the program, how much funding that actually equals. In terms of servicing individual single family homes, meaning condos, townhomes, and detached homes, if your award request gets scaled back a little bit, that just means you service less households with your funding. In terms of a multifamily project, we will aim to get as close as possible to your request, because we obviously can't have you servicing half a building, for instance. So we take that into consideration when we're deciding how much funding, if it's going to be less than what you ask for. In the funding opportunity announcement, you will see there is a minimum amount of funding in each category. For energy efficiency, we expect that you should at least do about 5 homes. If you multiply that by the max per home, that equals 105,000. And it is because it's way too much trouble to go through this application process, securing contractors, the administrative burden, the reviewing everything, if you're not going to do at least 5 homes. For solar, it could be, you can do 1 home if you wanted to. An example that we've had where a organization requested to do just 1 home. It was a group home, and that we find is an intriguing project. And it's reasonable that you would just do 1 home that has lots of residents. I hope I kind of went down a rabbit hole, but I hope that helped.
No, excellent. Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Again, this is recorded, so it will be on the YouTube page and emailed out so that you can pass this along to your other team members if you feel that necessary. Sean, Gus, and I are obviously available by email and by phone if you need to reach out to us throughout the application process. I will say we can basically help you with what we're asking for. I can't tell you what to submit, of course, but we can make sure what we've requested of you is clear throughout the application and funding opportunity announcement process. Anything else? Okay. I will give you back 6 or 7 minutes of your time. Again, our emails are on the funding opportunity announcements. Thank you, Patty, for joining us. And you can email my direct, angel.souls@maryland.gov, but the residentialenergy.mea@maryland.gov, that is managed by the 3 of us. So someone can get to your email pretty quickly if you want to email that inbox instead. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm really excited that there's so much interest. I look forward to reviewing your applications and getting these funds out the door. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My pleasure.